You are listening to the official podcast of the Good Games Network. That's right, and welcome to the very first podcast, the very first episode of the official Good Games Network podcast. We still don't have an actual name, so we're calling ourselves Untitled, or as Lek likes to say, the amazing, sexy podcast of awesomeness and excellence. Thank you for writing it down this time, so we didn't have to do that in 3 takes. My name is Mel. I'm going to be one of your hosts. We're going to go, since this is the very first time that we're actually here on the podcast talking to you and with each other, we are going to go around the table. We're going to talk a little bit about ourselves. We're going to start off with one of my oldest cohorts, a woman who gets me in trouble all the time. No, it is not the Secret World Uncovered reunion. Close, but of course, one of my other co-hosts is going to be Zephyrus. Zeph, say hello. Talk about yourself.
Bananas!
Oh, shit.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I really don't have any idea what I want to say right now. It feels like the very first show we did 2 years ago. Am I talking about what games I like right now, or are we waiting on that one too?
No, we're just going to move on. Thank you for the prep. Next person, also from our days over at Cry Guy Network, that's going to be joining us here at Good Games Network, is Lek. Say hello, Lek. Tell us about yourself.
Hi guys, my name's Craig, or Lek, depending on what game you come from, and I have a YouTube channel called Who Is Craig. I like to focus on story-based games that I can really get immersed into, like The Witcher 2 and Fatal Frame.
Also joining us, someone who was not part of the Secret World Uncovered or Cry Guy Network, but someone we met through the Secret World. Crime, say hello, tell us about yourself. Keep it under 2 minutes, please.
Good morning, afternoon, and or evening, anybody and everybody who may be listening to this now and in the future. I am Crime. And I guess you could say that I'm the interloper to this group. However, I enjoy these games like the Secret World and other games just as much as anybody else. I'm sure it's like everybody else that's listening to this podcast right now.
And of course, I am your host, Mal, aka Malamens, who was also part of the Secret World Uncovered team, the Cry Guy Network, and some of you may even have followed me over to standsandfire.com. But here we all are, all 4 of us. We have a new site called the Good Games Network, where we're going to be doing some live streaming, we're going to be doing some Let's Plays, some videos, and of course, this podcast. So, once again, thank you for joining us. And as I had purposely mentioned, we all know each other. Well, Zeph and I met each other before, but the 4 of us all came together essentially because of a game, because of the MMO, The Secret World. Say what you will or what you think about the game, but that's how the 4 of us actually ended up meeting, and it's now 2 years down the road, and here we are doing our own little thing, a little aside from that. So, aside from Crime, who apparently is really big in the Call of Duty crowd, we know, with the exception of his people, those coming here because of me, Zephyrus, and Lek are mostly going to be Secret World people. So, the first news story, the first topic we're going to be talking about today that's happening in the PC gaming space is, of course, Secret World. This past week, the November director's letter from Joe Bylos came out. Now, I think it's safe to say all 4 of us, we absolutely enjoy the Secret World, and we're all greatly anticipating, finally, of getting into Tokyo. And I'm sure Secret World listeners who are tuning in, I'm sure you cannot wait to get into Tokyo. You're going to have to wait a little bit longer. In the November newsletter, Joe Bylos says, and I quote, "My optimistic hope has always been that we could complete Tokyo in 2013. But due to the size and scope of Issue 9, it will not be finished until early next year. There isn't much to say except that I apologize, and I hope that the time we're putting into getting it to the quality level you deserve is appreciated when it launches." Keyword here is early next year.
Several words.
January, right?
Yeah, that does not mean January. Semantically speaking, it could be March before we actually see Tokyo and before we see Issue 9.
Yeah, I'm not really that surprised.
I don't think anyone is. Since the major restructure that they had, God, was it a year ago at this point?
I think so.
Which happened in chunks over that period of time, so to the point where I think Funcom is down to about 14 employees, including janitors.
Yeah. split between 2 offices. There's 2 people in Oslo and 5 in Durham, North Carolina. But, I mean, yeah, pretty much since the major restructuring, they haven't, starting with Tyler Freeborn, issue 6. Was it a 6 or was it 5? Holy crap.
5.
5. Every single issue, understandably so, has been delayed since then. So to hear the news that Tokyo is not coming out until early next year, I don't think any of us can say we're a little bit surprised. But there is good news, because some of us have OCD issues, like collecting all the lore in the game.
Done that.
Shut up. I hate you. And some of us may be missing one particular piece of lore that was part of a holiday event from a year ago. And it's been driving them nuts for a year, seeing that they're just missing that one piece. So the good news is they are talking about the Christmas holiday event. Last year it was the end of days in correlation with December 21st, 2000. Holy crap, what year are we in?
12.
12, thank you.
That was 12 last year, yes.
Just had a moment of...
Unless you're from the future like I am.
I am from the future. Mike is from the future.
Well, I do have a sonic screwdriver. So you tell me.
I won't even go what that sounds like instead of a sonic screwdriver.
So anyway, yeah, so they're bringing back the end of days. So for me, personally, I'm excited about this because I'm missing one lore piece that was in the 5-man dungeon, and because I absolutely hate pugging, never got it last year.
The Halloween issue that came out, not the issue, but they had an update for the Halloween event for 2013 that was completely different than 2012. I thought that was a very nice touch. If they had the same kind of focus and effort placed on the Christmas holiday, I don't want to say Christmas because that might offend some people, but the holiday that we have this time of year, if they put that kind of effort and attention onto this year like they did the Halloween event, it could be great. I mean, there's a lot of content that was involved in the Halloween episode.
There was a total of, essentially, it was 11 quests. Granted, there were item quests. Now, there was no dialogue. There was no voiceover. Was there voiceovers?
There was voice, yeah.
Was there?
Yeah.
It was
Holy crap, my memory has gone to shit already.
No, it's fine. Don't swear.
Oh, right. All right. Damn, was I the first one? Did I lose?
Yeah. You need to put the $1 in the...
Put the $1 in the jar? Oh, well, whatever. Now, Bilos does talk about it in the director's newsletter. He does say, and I quote, "We're also planning on re-enabling the content from last year in reference to holiday events, specifically the End of Days. The End of Days will return, minus some more of the more annoying bits. Hopefully that means no more random Aztec zombies spawning on you. And we hope that everyone, old and new, will take time to pitch in against the evils of an ancient time and the relatively unreliable calendar." Take what you will from that. I have no idea what that could possibly mean.
There are new people that are constantly coming into the game, and with the lower prices of the game, there are people that haven't experienced last year, and it's nice that they have the ability to do that. It may upset some veterans by saying, "Hey, I was here last year. Why are you allowing other people to do it?" But you know what? It's all about including as many people as you possibly can into the great game that it is.
Yeah. The other one, last little bit, we wanted to bring up in regards to the Secret World and the newsletter. Issue 8, which also came out recently, very little as far as story content goes, but it was a massive content patch because they gave us scenarios. And one of the things he talks about in the newsletter was their decision. Apparently, people were having issues completing scenarios on the regular difficulty. Anyone here want to fess up to this?
No.
I've done them perfectly. Not me.
I really enjoyed grouping up with other people in order to accomplish what I wasn't able to accomplish solo.
Yup.
In a solo scenario with 5 people.
Yeah. You're awesome.
It was done by design, but essentially, apparently some people were really upset. Now, I personally thought they made a mistake where you needed 80 Oreos to continue on with the story instead of just completing it once.
Oreos.
People were having issues with the level of difficulty it required to complete just the normal just the normal scenario. So what Joel ended up doing, and it is patched, it is live in the game, and I tried it out, and it is easier. Instead of nerfing normal mode, they added a fourth mode and called it novice level.
Which is
I
pretty
think
cool.
that's awesome.
Right. Now I've gone in, I've done novice. It is easier. Not a whole lot. The monsters don't hit as hard, and they don't have as much hit points, and that's really about it. That's the only difference. Spawn timers, random events are just as screwed up as they are in normal elite, and I haven't dared a nightmare yet, but essentially the mobs, they don't hit as hard and they die quicker.
That's going to make it a whole bunch easier, though. I mean, because you still want to move out of stuff. Don't stand in fire. Don't stand where you're not supposed to. So, I mean, if you start nerfing those kind of things, then...
Can you group up for the novice level?
I don't know.
Probably.
I would assume so. I don't think they changed that.
That'd be fun, because I do believe there should be more group content in the Secret World. I don't think they should be leaning and slanting towards making everybody solo, even if it is including other people, special ones.
What, you don't want to do a 5-man solo novice level and see how we steamroll it?
I think it'd be fun. Have some drinks, have some fun, stream it, have some laughs, right?
Mm.
Right up there.
Sometimes easy games are fun. Because a lot of people seem to be like, everything needs to be really hard and challenging. But I like easy games. So I like that there's a novice mode. Nice and relaxing.
I like the fact there's a balance. You could have your Dark Souls mode, you could have your Bubble Bobble mode, I don't mind there being options. I think any gamer will say, I like to have as many options as I possibly can in order to enjoy a game how I like to enjoy the game. So having a novice mode, big ups. Thumbs up from Crime.
That's right. You still have to grind it out to get the requisite Oreos to move on with the story, which is literally a total of 5 minutes worth of cutscenes, and that's all there is to the story. But unfortunately, it's looking like you do have to do it to continue on into Tokyo. Now, Joel has been on the forum saying that there quote-unquote may be an alternate path than trying to grind out 80 Oreos, but...
Anybody who played WoW is familiar with the gating concept.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a horrible concept to have. It's certainly an artificial time sink, and if you want to get people interested in the game and in the game as long as they possibly can in an MMO, having a grind, it's not a terrible thing.
Depends on how big the grind is, though.
I don't think this is an unreasonable one. I really don't think it's unreasonable if you want to make this your main game. If you want to just log in 5 hours a week, well, maybe that really isn't for you anyway.
But even then, it would take you a couple of weeks to get even if you only did it 2 or 3 times a week, or even once or twice a week, especially on novice mode, you're still getting. I think I didn't get platinum. One bastard died, fucker. Ah, damn it! I did it again.
Another $1.
Another
Can you get
$1.
double stuffed Oreos? I've always questioned that.
No. But I think for getting gold on a novice level, I end up with like 5 Oreos, which is, it's not a lot.
Still not bad. I mean, that's still getting like...
Well, you still get one for each. You still get 4 total for bosses. 1 each for the first 2 and then 2 for the second one. And then you still get the bag, which may contain 1 or 2. So you can still end up with, up to 10 Oreos after a novice run. And that's just for one run of doing, say, the mansion, where you can then move on to do, if you bought the pack, move on to do the hotel or the castle. So, it's making content a little bit more easier, and if people want a challenge, it's there. Like you said, it's really not a bad thing.
Well, plus anyone that's not having problems, that's like an extra 5 to 15 for all 3 a day to get them through that grind quicker. It's like, hey, you just go through this, it won't take you that long. You're already doing the other one, so yeah.
That's all it is. So we need to move on, though, because we have another story that's going to take up a little, I want to say, overreaction, me personally, but it's big news, especially if you follow esports. And I'm a huge esports fan, but Crime, you're a bigger one than I am. You at least want to walk through the timeline of what happened before we get into details and break it down?
I think it's important to note that not one person is more into esports than the other person. We're all equal on the same plane.
Lies!
But essentially,
Why?
Slasher from On Games, a guy who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, don't tell him I said that, broke the story that he had leaked to him a current Season 4 contract for all of the LCS, the League Championship Series players, that's coming up. And actually, there are qualifiers right now for the teams that are going to be placed into their respective regions. This contract had one snippet that was released that a lot of people who play video games and follow League of Legends had a problem with.
We should know real quick. Hold on. We should know. This is League of Legends LCS. For those of you not familiar, and Riot is the developer.
Correct.
Okay. Keep going.
This portion of the contract had one stipulation that was listed in it, and that the LCS players who are really contracted employees of Riot to participate in their tournament are not allowed verboten to stream any games that Riot and that, personally, in my opinion, their holding company Tencent deem unfit for them to stream. These games basically include direct rivals in the what you call the MOBA market or the ARTS market. Games like Heroes of Newerth and Dota 2 and Smite. One real nitpicky item in that they did not mention two games that are currently in alpha/beta that may actually compete with League of Legends more. One being offered through Blizzard, something that some people might have heard about called Heroes of the Storm, and also a game that's being released by S2 Games that some people are really comparing to LoL called Strife. I don't know if that was lack of foresight or whatever, but they're definitely going to be released some sort of beta in 2014 before Season 4 of this series are out. Now, as Mal mentioned, this may not necessarily be as big of a story as it could be, or as it's kind of blown out to be, because it doesn't really affect the average gamer who watches streams. Because not many of these people are sitting around going, oh man, I really love Double Lift, and I really love Scara, and I really love Dyrus, Team Solo Mid, I'm a big, huge fan. I can't wait till they start streaming Heroes of Newerth, or Smite, or World of Warplanes. Like, these are people want to log in or just turn on Twitch and watch them stream LOL, because that's what their passion is, that's what they really like. So it doesn't really affect them, because these players, when they sign their contract, because they have to, because they're employees, and if they don't, they can't participate, they're going to be streaming LOL anyway. I mean, they might get into Hearthstone, whatever, but they're really not going to be actively promoting another developer's game. So it's kind of a non-story, but it really speaks to how gamers kind of see things from a developer's, how they try to persecute developers, and that was harsh. But they get up about these things.
No, it persecutes Riot, because there are people out there who once obviously Riot has since then retracted the contract and have adjusted it to a more appropriate means. But people were out there saying, "Yeah, we shamed them, public shaming, woohoo, go us."
Mm-hmm. And in a way, Riot couldn't, in my estimation, couldn't lose, because if this story never broke and nobody ever heard about this, it was just kind of swept under the rug, Riot wins, because they don't have these players streaming, a Heroes of the Storm beta. They don't have them streaming a Strife. Now that it has been broken, they can actually fall back on, hey, we listen to you guys. We value you as valuable employees of Riot and valuable customers of our service that we call League of Legends. We appreciate you. Thank you for supporting us. Right? They either win or they win, minus a little uproar, which doesn't really mean anything.
Well, no, they can't take money from other developers. That's what the contract was changed to. So you have the contract, and in it was a stipulation that there was a list of 26 different games that they could not stream while they were under contract for the LCS.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they have now backtracked saying, okay, they can stream whatever they want. They can just not accept money from another publisher while they're
Which is completely fair.
Right. While they're under contract for the LCS. Now, I'm with you on this one. Personally, I thought it was a non-story. You're being paid to play and promote their game. It's no different than when, give me a sports star. Quick, someone. When LeBron James, that's it, Nike. LeBron James is Nike. Mm-hmm. It's no different than Nike saying, promote our product, and it's just, you can't wear Reebok.
And even more specifically in that contract, promoting a product that's undesirable, such as porn or tobacco or alcohol, like something that Riot doesn't want to be associated with.
Right. So, I mean, legally speaking, and this was part of my issue, was Riot was well within their rights to do so. Now, I do think Riot made a mistake, and I thought they were overreaching, and they had overestimated or underestimated the blowback from this, which is completely their fault. Although I will say they were well within the right to offer that contract because they are paying these guys. It is their money, and so is the tournament, and the tournament winnings are also their money. And these guys are also getting other contracts, too, from peripherals mostly, like SteelSeries or Logitech.
So in the comment that was released in the very beginning, they likened this particular part of the contract to a professional sports player not being able to play a different or promote a different sport. You won't see an NFL player promoting arena football. Yeah. Or something to that effect. But, I mean, professional athletes, sports athletes, they can play other sports, right? I mean, you can play football and play baseball at the same time and not get excluded from that, right?
It is possible. It has been done before. During the 90s, you had Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders, both of whom played football and baseball at the same time. You have other cases like Danica Patrick, doing NASCAR and what's the other? Not F1, that's the European. Indy. You do have these crossovers. They do happen.
The NFL player that plays baseball would be like a League of Legends player playing another game because it's not the same league. I mean, that's a completely separate thing, isn't it? Or would you consider them in the same kind of league? Would they both be football?
It's tough. It's really not the issue at play here, because the issue at play is when these players are streaming
on their personal
time.
More
than likely, they are partnered with Twitch or with Azubu, and they are actually earning money from the advertisement revenue from the eyeballs that are seeing this. They also have submodels where they can actually have people subscribing to their streams and paying them money. So for them to be a contracted Riot employee and to earn money by essentially promoting another product, such as Blizzard's Heroes of the Storm, wow, it's like a word of the day, right? I would give a mention of Heroes of the Storm. It's really interesting that the streaming aspect of it is what's focused on here. And I think that if there is a story at all, it's about how streaming video games is taking off exponentially. And that's just how video games are being shared these days.
Do you think it creates a more social or a bigger community in general, or is it
streaming specifically?
Yeah.
Oh, that without question. You have to look at the recent examples. You have to look at the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 being released with streaming capability. You have to look at games such as Forced and Path of Exile that actually have capabilities within the game client to stream. You don't even have to have a third-party program such as XSplit or OBS to stream. All you have to have is like a Twitch account, and you can immediately start streaming your game from the game. In some ways, it's actually more beneficial to do that, to stream within the game client itself or to stream within the console client. The far-reaching atmosphere that streaming has to connect people playing single-player games is, to me, mind-numbing. to have that kind of network of millions of people being able to be integrated at a moment's notice by sharing a passion of video games. And also revenue, which is the key part of this story, right? Because Riot wants their money. Right. And Riot wants as much money as they possibly can get. And they're going to try and get as much money out of their employees, the LCS players, as they can possibly get. And they don't want the LCS players to be given that money somehow, in some way, residually, to another developer like Blizzard or like Wargaming.net.
I also think Riot misjudged a little bit too, because Riot is, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, you're talking about massive behemoth. We were talking before we started recording just how much of a monster, how much of a behemoth World of Warcraft is. League of Legends is in that same echelon. And I also think I think, well, technically right now they are bigger than World of Warcraft. And I think one of the things they misjudge is World of Warcraft, there is no such thing as the World of Warcraft killer. It is never going to happen. Anyone with any sense would tell you that if World of Warcraft is going to die, it's going to be because either the game got old or Blizzard royally screwed up. League of Legends is in that same echelon. No one is going to come along and knock them off. You're not going to have a League of Legends killer. League of Legends is going to die because either the game just becomes too old or they do something and royally screw up.
The community would have to abandon the game to go to another game and start.
And we're talking tens. I mean, we're talking over a community of 10 million.
Yeah.
Well over 10 million people straight up abandoning the game and moving on. So I think that was another misjudgment. I mean, I understand what they did. I don't fault them for trying to secure their brand and essentially monopolize what is the future of gaming. It really is. Mm-hmm. This whole, not just esports, but Crime, you're right. The story isn't esports. The story is the streaming, which is the future of gaming. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to make their mark and they're trying to get their hooks in early because they know that's what's coming. Because that's how League of Legends became popular. People were streaming World of Warcraft, and while they were bored waiting for raid members to show up, they would go play a League of Legends game on their live stream, and that's how League of Legends became popular. Well,
easy,
not the only
accessible,
way.
Immediate.
Yeah, it wasn't the only way, but that was one of the ways that League of Legends became popular, and they know this, so they're trying to corner their market. And they overreached, and the community reacted. In the grand scheme of things, I think this is a good thing for gaming and streaming overall. But I don't fault Riot for trying. I think they were well within their rights to give it a shot.
They got a lot of bad press from it, and they got some good press from it. But it's still a lot of press. And League of Legends, League of Legends right now isn't in their current season. They're still in qualifiers. League of Legends is on the tip of everybody's tongue, so I don't blame them one bit for actually having their contract. You know, certainly they didn't plan on having this leaked, but it is what it is. I don't blame Riot for a single thing. I applaud them for having a good business model. If there's one kind of epitaph I have is that I don't believe that Riot cares about esports or modern competitive gaming at all. I believe that Riot cares about Riot. And I hope that they don't bury other games, the games that I care about more. Not that I don't care about League of Legends, but it's certainly not my game. Appreciate the games that you like, but don't not appreciate the games you don't like. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's really interesting. I love the way this is unfolding. I love the way this is going.
Before we move on to the next subject, because Lek has said very little and he's up next, but before we get to Lek, there was something else you had pointed out to me earlier that you also found curious in the world of esports about Azubu and Clouf. Thank you.
Yeah, they just announced today. Today's December 7th of 2013. Yeah, December 7th of 2013. It's difficult for me, guys, because I'm from the future. So having to come back to these times, I sometimes get things messed up, right? Like eventually, after this podcast is over, I have to go back to my DeLorean and get back to my time. But yeah, major announcement by Clouf, which I tend to liken to the European Illuminati, who happens to be in bed with, figuratively, Azubu, which is what I equate to the Korean mafia. If I disappear after this podcast, you guys know why. Announced today that they formed the ESGN, which is, I hate how they have acronyms like this because it incorporates parts of words. I could look at that later. I apologize and post some links about it. But essentially, they're trying to defragment the world of esports, because right now it's being held on several different continents by several different organizations, both developers, teams, and independent leagues. So they're trying to unify that. They're really at the forefront about how they're going to bring esports, or I somewhat hate that term. I like modern competitive gaming, because an elitist ass like that. They're trying to bring that to the mainstream. They're trying to bring that to the people who may not be interested in esports, like people we may have on this panel today.
Warcraft was a huge success.
Yeah. It's interesting to see where they're going to go, but I think they have a plan, unlike anybody else that has currently had a plan, and I believe they have the vision to really bring eyes that may not be necessarily looking at video games like this, like the League of Legends, or like StarCraft, my game, right? The game that I love. So we'll see. Again, it's a very exciting time. I could talk about this for hours, but I think we have to move on.
We do have to move on because Lek has not said a single word.
Yeah, I think he's asleep.
Lek, you there?
No, I'm here.
You're here?
Hi,
Okay.
guys.
Sleep here.
I get to talk. Hi.
Hi guys, sleep here.
All right, man. You've got some news that you wanted to talk about.
It was only just announced today, as we were recording it. Telltale Games and Gearbox Games are teaming up to make Tales from the Borderlands, which is a new episodic story-driven game in the Telltale style, but set within the Borderlands world of Pandora. And at least according to Game Informer, you'll be playing as a Vault Hunter wannabe and interacting with the world of Borderlands. The first episode should be out next year, and it's pretty exciting since Zeph and Crime and I just started playing Borderlands 2 the other day.
We're waiting
Which
for
you
a
can see
fourth
on-
person.
I'm getting there, okay? I need to...
And Borderlands 2 is super fun so far, and it seems like a big world that has a lot of potential for stories
you don't even
within
know
it. So
half of
it
it.
would, yeah. I mean, we're only at level 6 so far. So Telltale Games are going to be pretty busy next year because, as well as The Walking Dead and A Wolf Among Us, and now Tales from the Borderlands, they've got a game based on Games of Thrones, Games of, I can't say it now.
Mm-hmm.
Game of
Not cool.
Thrones.
There we go.
Game of Thrones. There you go. I have to admit, when they announced it and I read the article, I was a bit disappointed because I was hoping they would call it the Game of Thrones. But the announcement trailer called it Game of Thrones, a Telltale game series. And that's pretty much all the info we have on it at the moment, besides it
Teaser.
should hopefully be come out next year. Yeah, it's a teaser. But similar to Borderlands, it's a big world, and there's lots of potential for stories in Game of Thrones, so that should be cool too.
Well, one of the major excitement that's going on about it is that the Walking Dead game serials that they did, the 5 games of The Walking Dead, are
so good.
beyond critically acclaimed.
So good.
Yeah, they're huge. They made me cry. And I can't say that very
So
often,
good.
that a video game made me cry, but The Walking Dead Season 1 did.
Okay.
Until the
that's a pretty
Stanley
big
Parable
achievement.
came out just recently, if I had to if somebody said, hey, Crime, I want to start playing video games, because I never really played video games, and I heard there's a lot of cool video games that are coming out right now, where should I start? I would point them to The Walking Dead. I would absolutely 100% say, this is where you start, tell me how you feel about it, and then I'll point you in the direction you need to go. But then Stanley Parable came out, so that kind of beat it.
It's still a
But-
pretty awesome game, though.
I'm 100%, 1,000%, I don't want to get above that because it doesn't exist. 100% on the bandwagon of Telltale Games. I like the way that they are releasing episodic content. It's a way to kind of filter your enjoyment of a game and not necessarily overwhelm yourself. Have 2, 3, 4 hours of gameplay and say, I'm really satisfied with this. And you know what? I can put this down right now and come back to a later point in time when more episodes come out. And it seems like that's what they're doing. Not only with The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, but in a way, and this is going to sound strange to somebody, Poker Night and Poker Night 2. I've spent more time in Poker Night 2 than I have in Half-Life and Half-Life 2 combined. I love Poker Night 2. I love the way that Telltale Games has kind of built through their human resources department somehow. I want to thank the human resources department of Telltale Games for coming up with the personnel that they have to, I think, tap into the human psyche. This is going way pretentious here, but tap into the human psyche to figure out what people really want from a game emotionally, whether that be happy, sad, mad, whatever. I think that they really are hitting the nail on the head of just saying, hey, you know what? We're not going to overwhelm you with immersive combat. We're not going to have this skill wheel that looks like Dennis Hopper's brain on acid. Here's some fun kind of story that you can interact with that doesn't overwhelm you. I'm excited. I'm not a Game of Thrones fan, but Borderlands, come on.
I'm really excited to see what stories they come up with there, because the ones that they have now are really engaging, and some of the DLCs that they've put out for the first and the second, particularly Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep was
very good.
It was some of my favorite gaming experience ever. So I'm really curious about the stories that they're going to tell there, and I'm really excited to see like kind of where that's going to go. Game of Thrones too, like you said, like it's a massive universe, and
yeah, a lot of
I'm
potential.
really kind of excited how they kind of get into it and
Hopefully
show
a better
you
job than
maybe.
HBO.
Yeah, you know,
Shots fired.
I'm just now reading the books. I'm probably one of the people that didn't read it and then watch, and so I'm not as disappointed as the people who read it and now are watching and are disappointed. So I've really enjoyed the show, and the books I'm enjoying too. So I'm probably not in that same group as you now.
Yeah. Well, Peter Dinklage is awesome. I will give them that. That was probably the most brilliant piece of casting ever.
Yeah. He's pretty awesome.
I think if any community has a hard time with how a Telltale Games game is produced, it may be the Game of Thrones community. So I think that they may not like and appreciate what TTG can do.
Well, with how fast it's going to come out?
Well, yeah. I think they released their episodic content pretty well. I think there's kind of a window there between like 2 and 4 months, kind of did like 3 months area. Like, I'm disappointed in Kentucky Route Zero, not because I'm disappointed in the game. I love the game. Recommend that to anybody. But hey, episode 3, man. Come on. Daddy Crime needs some episode 3. But yeah, I mean, episodic content, I like what they're doing with that. I don't want to step on anybody's toes here, but I want to wrap up and just saying that there's a lot of things about Telltale Games. I need to kind of take off my knee pads and stand up here.
Blood burns are worth it.
Yeah, but I like the fact that Telltale Games has a working relationship with other developers and other content creators the way I think nobody else has.
Yes.
Like, other developers trust Telltale Games to be able to tell the stories that they have. And you can see that with the Poker Night series. I recommend that. They just had Poker Night 2 was 99 cents in the last Steam sale. 99 cents! Oh, man, people, I wish I could have bought that 100 times and given that out to 100 people. But I think that they have the personnel that other developers say, hey, we want to work with you. And this cross-promotion stuff, I love it. I absolutely love it. It gives us gamers more options, right? To enjoy the games that we want to play, how we want to play them. Go for it, Telltale Games. I need to get new knee pads. Send me some beta keys.
So Path of Exile has put out that they have over 4 million registered users and 250,000 concurrent players 1 month after launch. I can see how they can go with those numbers. It's a free-to-play game, which we'll probably be playing really soon on live stream and videos and all that kind of good junk. So I can see how that they can kind of spout off those kind of numbers being free to play, because everybody will download it and at least create an account and may only play for 5 minutes. But I think the other thing to really kind of think about is this game is for anybody almost on any computer, because the system resources or system requirements for it are super low. 2 gigs of RAM, 1.4 gigahertz processor. Like, how do you even start up a computer anymore with that? So,
I know, even Mal can play it.
Yeah.
If you have an Apple IIe, you could probably play this game.
But just in general, I think it probably shows that it's when you have that kind of response in the first month, I think it would definitely show it's something to check out.
Well, the 4 million registered users, first of all, I call bullshit.
Billion.
Because, I mean, that number doesn't mean shit. Because, like, I clearly remember Rift. And I was into Rift during the beta and in the first 6 months of launch. I remember when Rift came out during the closed beta, and said, hey, we have 1 million registered users. That number doesn't mean crap. Secret World had that too. Hey, we have 1 million registered users. And only 300,000 people.
Too.
Yeah.
Gamers love measurement.
Yes.
Numbers are important to accountants, but it still is something I think the concurrent players on at one point is something that shows that there's an interest in the game, which I've done very little research, but it looks, from the screenshots and the video that I watched, it looks pretty interesting. So
numbers
like
can't measure fun.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
It
Greg.
looks like it has a unique skill system because you equip skills like items instead of learning them. So I like the idea of, like the Secret World, being able to customize my skills however I want.
Have you seen their skill ability tree?
No.
It is insane. It's like a molecular biology student went on an acid trip and had an aneurysm and drew it out on a wall. It is absolutely almost, I don't want to say it's impossible. It really is a min-maxer's dream. And there are a lot of, because, again, I want to kind of backtrack a little bit in saying that all those registered users, a lot of those came from beta. And this game's been in beta for quite a long period of time. And there have been, there's like entire guides on the game on YouTube. I believe there's a chap by the name of Ziggy Starcraft that does a lot of Path of Exile stuff. And a lot of it is on that min-maxing. And those numbers can be skewed just on the interest. Again, I don't believe in numbers because numbers can't measure fun. You know, you can't. I don't ever agree with people rating things in numbers because you just either have fun in it or you don't. Assigning a numerical values is stupid.
I think in terms of rating, yes. If you were to say, it's a 9, it's a 9 out of 10, that's subjective. So there's no getting into that. But to the fact that they can say that there's more than, that there's that many concurrent players 1 month after launch, that does show that there's interest, which would show that there's a decent game there. So
more than the Secret World had.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really mean anything. I mean, because hey, Crime's an asshole, and Crime cares about one number, and that's 1. That's what I care about, right? I either think that game's fun or I don't. I'm not gonna look at a game going, okay, they're publishing 4 million numbers. I don't care about that number. I care about 1. I care about what I care about. So that doesn't sway me at all. I'm not so easily convinced by your tricks gaming population. I'm going rogue.
So another game that would pull in big numbers, Warcraft. The movie cast has been announced. On Slash Film, they've released the cat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. One of them in the final stages of negotiation to star in the Warcraft Blizzard Entertainment award-winning video game series movie. I don't really. I know this is probably big news to somebody somewhere, but they aren't saying who they're playing, so it really doesn't matter to me right now until I know who they're playing. And again, I don't really believe anything that comes out with this Warcraft movie until I'm sitting down and watching it, because it's changed so much over the last 4 years from who's doing what and all of that. So,
Be honest, how many names did you recognize?
None.
One.
I got two.
Jackoff is in there, right? What's his name? Jackoff? Chekhov?
Jackoff. No.
What?
I mean, Krasinski or Krasinski or something like that.
Yeah. I only I know that I don't watch True Blood, so I wouldn't have. I should have recognized Rob Kaczynski from Pacific Rim. I have seen that, and I mean, I've seen the movies, but I don't recognize the people, so I don't really. They couldn't have been. Anyway, doesn't matter. I guess my biggest question for you guys is: do you think it's too little, too late for the movie? I mean, are they kind of grasping at straws to still put one out? Should they? What do you think?
Oh, hold on. I'm looking at my Twitter. I just saw a tweet from Rod Slasher Breslow of On Gamers. Apparently, Blizzard just had their contract. You mentioned it was contract negotiations. Apparently, their contract was just leaked, and none of the actors that are under contract with Blizzard are able to participate in creating any movies at the same time that they're going to be involved with this World of Warcraft movie.
However long that takes.
It's amazing. Look at that. Like, life imitates art. How about that?
That's weird.
No, I mentioned this earlier, but really, I think this game is coming out in what? Is it 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spring 2016.
Spring 2000. Okay, my anticipated release date is, I think, the 13th of I don't give a rat's ass in 2016. I'm over it. If this movie came out in 2010, I would have been in line with a Frostmourne in one hand and like a what's this mug thing I have here? The Tankard of Terror filled with vodka in the other hand, like for 4 days, growing haggard. Just can't wait to get in and see the movie, but no, no.
No, by the time it
Biggest-
releases, it'll have been 6-7 years too late. They mentioned it'll still be success. I will say this: it will be successful. It will probably turn a profit, but it's not going to be the
People will watch
blockbuster.
it.
The blockbuster it should have been if they had released it when they first started talking about doing this movie back in 2009, 2008. When they first started talking about actually doing
2008 was the very first BlizzCon panel that they ever had, in which I remember this very distinctly. They said that they weren't going to explore any of the orc story because who would want to watch a movie about big green men? And somebody in the audience said, "What about Shrek?" And the whole entire audience laughed. That's a great moment.
Well, the last BlizzCon, they completely changed that because the movie's going to be about Dorten and Lothar. So.
Yeah, so...
Like I said, I won't
Blizzard.
believe it until I'm sitting in front of it and watching that it's even going to happen. So they can release all they want until I start seeing stills and video clips. I'm not believing it.
They're
Although,
gonna have to announce the cup size of the lady who's playing Jaina Proudmoore in order for me to start.
Craig,
being interested
you're
in
not
it.
you're not a Warcraft fan.
No.
What do you think about the whole thing?
If this came out like a few years ago when World of Warcraft was still a big thing, I may have actually gone to see it. But now, I just can't be bothered. It sounds boring.
See, yeah, I think that's where they're going to get. We were talking about this earlier. They are going to get. I mean, the numbers of subs aren't going to really matter, like you said, Mal. But those things don't matter. You're going to get nostalgic people who played way back in the day and aren't playing now. But the problem is the peripheral people who may have been interested in WoW way back then, just because it was in your face, and now it's not in your face as much. They can't be bothered. So I feel bad because I was really excited for this movie. I was so excited, and now it's gone.
Is this something Blizzard are making themselves, or other people?
No. Is it still Legendary Pictures?
No, it's Paramount.
It's Paramount now. Oh.
Oh, okay.
Wow, even their studio changed.
Right? It should be. Hold on, let me double check.
Yeah.
Check that link.
This article / film says Legendary and Universal Pictures.
Oh, okay. This
Yeah.
Universal I was thinking of. Okay, so they're still doing it. All right.
I think a lot of people had faith in the project again when it was announced in 2008 because Legendary was kind of the up-and-coming underdog of making really cool movies, to the point where I said cool instead of cool. That's how cool it was. But I think that it's just, like, we talked about Riot and having everything on tip of everybody's tongue. Warcraft just isn't at this point. Even with the announcement of Warlords of Draenor, I think people are content with that being in the background. I hope it's good, and I hope I enjoy my experience. I'll probably be there with 3D goggles on, but it's not. It certainly isn't coursing through my veins like the fell blood of yore. Wow,
they missed their window. So
they definitely missed the window.
They
definitely missed the window on that one, because it could have been really good. And, well, it could have been crap. Here's the thing. It could have been absolute crap.
We don't know yet.
And they could have put it out and would have made a lot of money because of just the timing. And now it's going to need to be freaking Avengers worthy. Like, it's going to need to be, whether you like the movie or not, it made a bunch. That's what I'm saying. It's going to need to be that kind of bang for their buck in order for it to be not panned. And
depends on what kind of budget they have.
Yeah,
I can't imagine it having a big budget from the looks of it.
Though they said they aren't doing a CG. Like,
no, it's all live action. Yeah, it's live action.
Well, they say all live action, but Lord of the Rings is all live action. Matrix is all live action.
Yeah.
But there are CG components. Like Pacific Rim is live action.
Yeah, but take a look at Lord of the Rings, the Uruk-hai, when they're up close, those are not CG.
Yeah, but Lord of the Rings had a huge budget.
Yeah.
So
I
they
have
were
no idea
able
what
to
the
do
budget
better
is.
prosthetics and things like that.
Yeah.
No idea what the budget for this is. I don't even think they've announced it yet. They're going to start filming in Vancouver on January 2014, so it's going to be paid. But just one last point before we close the show up. I do think it's interesting because when they finally announced that they were going to move ahead, they had the director, the guy, I don't even know what his name is. I just know he did...
Sam Raimi?
No, not Sam Raimi, the new one.
That was the original, yeah.
That was the original. The guy who wrote, the guy who did Source Code, which was an okay movie. It was a pretty good movie. When they had finally announced that they're going ahead with him, and then they announced a release date of December 18th, 2016, which was going to be a holiday release, which is actually a pretty smart time for them to release a movie like that. 2 months later, or 4 weeks ago, Disney decided to announce that on December 18th, 2015, that is when the new Star Wars movie was going to release. So,
wait,
Blizzard,
the new what movie?
The new Star Wars movie? Episode
Never
7?
heard of it.
What's Star Wars?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
I quit!
Just end it right there.
No, that was...
The big test will be whether World of Warcraft, the movie, earns more than the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
I think that will not be an issue.
Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat.
Street Fighter had Kylie Minogue in it. You can't beat that.
Let's name every single one of the awesome, amazing video game
Have
movies.
you lost your mind? No, but you lost your balls.
End it right there.
Oh. Okay, so wrapping it up now that we've devolved into ball jokes. Make sure that you like and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. No, I'm forgetting one.
Tumblr.
Twitter?
YouTube.
Oh, YouTube.
Yeah. Good Games Net. Anyway, you can find us anywhere. Good Games Net. Like, follow, subscribe. Share with your friends. You didn't see me. I was giving you thumbs up when I said that. So, yeah.
Me too. It was weird. Strange connection. I apologize. I was thumbs up like my glass of wine.
Anyway.
Okay, I think we're done. So, thanks for tuning in to the very first episode of the Untitled yet official podcast of what the hell's the name of our network now?
GGN.
Screw it.
Good Games Network.
Games Network.
Because we only play the GGs.
GGN out, bitches.
So, on behalf of Crime, Zephyrus, Lek, I am Mal. We're done. We're so done. We'll talk to you next week. also think it's hilarious because their original date they released, they announced was going to be, what the hell is going on in the background there?
Oh, man, I apologize. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
I got so bored with this talk about World of Warcraft movie that I just started opening up a bottle of wine.